Hey there, it's me, Nikki Asher Bowling from It's Going to Be Okay, the podcast where we embrace the journey, share uplifting stories, and explore real life tips on navigating the twists and turns, especially when it comes to living with depression and anxiety. I'm here to remind you that there's a community of support cheering you on. Life's road can be bumpy, and many of us face the challenges of managing our mental health. But fear not, because on this podcast, we're not just talking the struggles, we're sharing practical advice, genuine experiences, and the stories of incredible individuals who have discovered their own path to resilience. So, whether you're looking for a boost of motivation, seeking coping strategies, or wanting to connect with others who understand, join me on this journey. Together we'll laugh, learn, and find the strength to face whatever comes our way. This podcast is more than words. It's a lifeline of encouragement and a reminder that even in the darkest moments, it's going to be okay. So grab your favorite beverage, settle in, and let's dive into the heartwarming tales and valuable advice that makes life's challenges a conquerable adventure. Thank you for tuning in, and let the journey begin. Hello there, everybody. It's me, Nikki. I'm the host of Is Going to Be Okay. And today I want to talk about the differences between coaching and therapy. Some people try to assume, well, I'm not going to assume what anybody thinks, but I thought coaching was the same as therapy and vice versa. And it really isn't. So I'll be working from the the National Library of Medicine, the website there. It has some great information that I felt was important today. And then I had my document up here, and I just want to make sure I had everything. Oh, there it is. Okay. For some reason, I was thinking only part of my script loaded. So, you know me, things can get wacky. So, one of the things, before we get started, I just wanted to let you know that it's been a while since I've done a free workshop. And so I am going to be hosting a workshop July 17th and 18th. It'll be on live stream. Since my Facebook account was hacked and somebody was selling ski clothing on it, I had to start a new page. And so Facebook now has a new rule that you have to have at least 100 followers before you can go live. So I haven't been able to go live. So if you want to see me live, you'll have to click on the StreamYard link that I'll have on my Facebook page on the night of the 17th and the 18th. It'll just be 7 o'clock both nights. And it's just a short little overview of some things that I feel are important, things that you may have heard before, but of course, they'll have my own special twist on it because nobody thinks like I think. And, or they've not been through the things that I've been through. So I feel like it's very beneficial. Of course, you always know that the things that I promote here are things that routines and parameters and my own little world of, what do you want to call it? Rules. I don't want to call them rules, but just things that I use for myself to help me with my anxiety and depression. So I still deal with those things on a daily basis. And a lot of the things that I talk about are things that really help me. So, okay. So I will have the link in the show notes. I hope that you will at least stop by for, a few minutes or watch the whole thing, comment, let me know what you think about what I'm talking about. It'll be a blast um, because I'm a fun person. So, which if you've been listening to me for a while, you already know that. So, okay. So, I just wanted to talk about the differences between coaching and therapy, their focus, and the scope of what each of those two entail. So, therapy centers on, focusing on mental health concerns, emotional healing, and then a lot of it deals with past experiences to, you know, um, to help make your current day better. So that's what therapy focuses on, and of course, it focuses on healing from past traumas and emotional distress. So that's a lot of the focus that therapy um, channels, like a therapist is when you're working with the therapist, they help you with any past traumas that you've come across or any emotional distress that you've been through. So, and of course, everybody has some form of past trauma or emotional distress. Um, some people handle it a lot better. You know, uh, I used to think I handled it well. I'm full of crap, so I didn't handle any of it well. So, and that's where all this journey has come from is dealing with it and and it seems like over the years there's been so much stuff that's come up that I'm still uncovering things, right? Uncovering things that I had forgotten about or I didn't want to think about. I put it that way. So, okay, so first we'll talk about therapy because I've been in therapy and it really did help me, Um, but I feel like personally, my experience, this is all my opinion, this nothing professional about this. So there's disclaimers here. If you want to have therapy, you need to contact your doctor for a recommendation or a referral. Um, so this is all opinion based, what I've been through. I feel like I do have a good handle on it because I've been through both. So, so like I said, therapy focuses on your mental health, emotional healing, any past experiences, and addresses underlying issues contributing to current struggles. So, if you're struggling today, there could be something in your past that you've buried or have put aside because it's too hurtful to talk about or to deal with. So, and you can use a therapist to help you deal with those, past trauma. So the focus or the scope of therapy is diagnosing and treating mental health conditions. A therapist can help you process trauma, and they can also help you develop coping mechanisms. So, um, some of the things for today's therapy is some really magnificent things that they have been teaching people when they are experiencing trauma, some things they can do to help them get themselves through that. If you've had a trigger or, something's come up and it's really blowing you out of the water. So, a goal for therapy is to improve your overall functioning. Like I said, all this information that I'm getting, that I'm talking about, is coming from the public. It's the National Library of Medicine. So it's a public website, and it really has you know, some good information on there, which I'll link it in the show notes so that you can see where I got it from. Because I want everything to be transparent, and you guys know that I'm not just making up a bunch of hoo ha in my head. So, anywho, okay, so let me get back to my form. Um, so, so what it does, the goal of therapy is to improve your overall functioning, alleviate symptoms of mental illness, and promote emotional well-being. So, some examples of you know things that a therapist may do is they may treat depression, they may treat anxiety or PTSD, or maybe like relationship issues. A lot of people's problems are from relationship issues. Whether it's from between you and parents, or you and spouses, or you and siblings, or you and coworkers, whatever it could be. Um, and a therapist, like, they'll have credentials. They usually have advanced degrees, like a master or doctoral, and are licensed by state boards. So they have to um, pass a test, by a state board saying, okay, I know what I've done the work. I know what I'm doing. Yes, I can answer your questions, and I pass, and then they give you a license. So now coaching is completely different. And as you know, that people will, anybody can call themselves a coach. I was very, very hesitant of calling myself a coach for the longest time because I didn't want to seem like a fraud. I felt like I was more like a helper, or a walk along, or a support person, but all those things just means that you're just helping someone else, coaching them through their life, especially things that you've learned that you can pass on. So coaching, so their focus is setting and achieving specific goals for personal and professional development and enhancing performance in various areas of life. So I've had a coach for a long time. Everybody knows this. And I've been able to get to learn to do things. I've set tons and tons of goals. There is a format that my coach uses that I use too, that I absolutely love. I still use it to this day. And it's just every 12 weeks, setting goals, mapping them out to minute details, and then each week making sure you get those goals completed. Um, am I perfect at it? No. Am I a human being? Yes. So there are times when I don't get my goals completed, or, you know, something with life has just completely sideswiped me. And I'm like, I had something happen a couple weeks ago. I think I mentioned it on my other podcast, or my last podcast, but I had a really bad panic attack, and I didn't think I was going to make it home. My husband, whenever we get off work, he'll call me or I call him, and we talk all the way home. So he talked me home, and I mean, usually when I have a panic attack, I'd be down for the count. I'd be like week, week, days of getting back on my feet, and within a day or two, I mean, I handled the recovery of it a lot better than what I've done in the past. And I was really shocked by that, um, because it had been a long time since I had a really, really horrible panic attack, one like that one. And so I would not be able to do any of that if I hadn't been had a coach and had learned to set some self care routines for those moments when I have an attack or I'm freaking out or I'm, exhausted or whatever the situation is. Okay, so the scope of coaching is exploring past experiences to a limited extent, but the primary focus is on the present and future. So this is true. So there may be some past things that comes up, and that just happens with you talking to your therapist about those. Um, but the main focus is on your present and future. So, how does the situation from your past prevent you from moving forward in your present to get to your future? And so, those are things that we would talk about. And I just want to say, if you hear my husband in the background, I apologize. I told him I was coming up here to record, so I didn't think he would be playing a loud video, so to speak. So like I said, the scope is may involve exploring past experience to a limited extent, but the primary focus is on the present and the future. And that's true because a coach wants you to be goal oriented and to get those goals done, each week to to get to the end. So, and that's true. Um, so the main, goals of the goals are to improve performance, enhance learning, and contribute to personal professional growth. So, when I set goals, I will do one for personal growth. That could be physical health, or mental health, or spiritual health. And then I'll have goals set for work or my podcast. Um, and then I might have a goal set for like my relationship with my husband, you know. So it's just different things. Whatever you're dealing with in that moment, the coach will like have you work around those things, you know, that way you can get that task completed, and you take a big task and you break it down into teeny tiny steps each week so that it's easy. By the end of the 12 weeks, you've completed that whole big task that you were worried about or you didn't think you could get it done, or you knew you could get it done, but you're wanting to be more calm about it, and be more proactive instead of flying by the seat of your pants. So, examples are career coaching, life coaching, executive coaching. So, I've talked to a lot of people who do different types of coaching. They could do athletic coaching, they could do like Christian life coaching, they could do business coaching. Um, just there's so many things that people that I've come across since I've been doing my podcast where they'll call, they're a coach, but it's very specific on what they focus on. So credentials, there are coaching certifications, but they are not regulated like your therapy licenses are. So many coaches obtain certificates from reputable organizations. So, So, so in essence, or so when you talk about this, it depends on what you're dealing with. If you're dealing with mental health challenges or trauma from your past, therapy is generally either a more appropriate choice. If you're seeking clarity, motivation, plans to achieve specific goals, then coaching may be a better fit. And some coaches may have training in therapy, and some therapists may incorporate coaching techniques, but the focus and scope of each of these professions remain distinct. So it just depends on what you're more familiar with, what best suits your needs, and things like that. So overall, those are the two different differences between coaching and therapy. Now, when I was in therapy, I did not feel like that um, I had a grasp on my problems and I didn't know how to work around those in my daily life. So, and I don't know if it was just because of who the therapist that I had, because to me, I felt like therapy, they wanted you to find the solution within yourself. And sometimes I felt like I wasn't so smart, that I could come up with those solutions on my own, when incorporating some of, things that's in my life to help me deal with my anxiety and depression better. So that's where, um, for me, now it did help me, with things that I were dealing with, because there were some things I had unrealistic expectations, or I thought of a past experience um, differently than what would most people expect. Um, so without getting into all of that. Um, However, coaching has helped me a lot because I had someone working with me one on one every week. We would get on a call, go through the goals, talk about them. And sometimes if I hit a bump in the road, then we would talk about that. Why did I hit a bump in the road? Or why did I break down over something that in the past wouldn't have bothered me? What triggered that? So we have had some good conversations, and I've had a lot of good benefits from coaching. Um, One of the things that helped me deal with, which is a big thing for me, was to it was about religion and going, deciding to be a Christian again. I left the church like 30 years ago, and it was really hard for me, um, because there was things that it was a church that I grew up in, and so it was kind of like family. And there was a lot of things that happened that I felt like were not right, but because it was a religion I grew up in, I didn't know how to talk about those things without feeling like I was like the things that were bothering me were not like religion things, you know. And that's how sometimes I think churches can get kind of muddled. But um, some of it still, I mean, it still bothers me how, some stuff happens. But I mean, what do you expect? There's human beings in churches, and human beings are not perfect, especially the one here talking. So I just try to, but I knew I did not want to go back to the church that I grew up in. So I had to start looking for a different church to go to. So that's one of the things that my coach helped me with. Um, this thing keeps falling asleep. So there was a couple things. Now, one of the big things that I've learned from coaching, and I know you all have had to hear about it before because I did interview Sarah Vallely, and she practices mindfulness. So that's one of the things that um, I love about the coaching, that it's just being where your feet are, being intentional, being in the moment. Because for those of us who suffer from anxiety and depression, there are a lot of things when we get overwhelmed, when we get stressed, then we get time blindness. I talked about this, you know, a few weeks ago. And so those are just some things that we that mindfulness can help you with that, to make you aware of in the moment what's going on. And when I practice it, it really helps. So this website that I have is so a psychotherapist may use mindfulness to help reduce stress, depression, anxiety, or pain, but a coach facilitates the actual learning about mindfulness. So they're committed to following the client's agenda, determining if some option is actually of interest, and helping the client to go about discovering it for himself or herself. So this follows it a bit further to give. So, like an example they give is it's far better to give a hungry man a fishing pole instead of a fish. So that's what they're saying. So maybe like therapy will give you the fish for the moment to satisfy that mindfulness need, but a coach will help you learn mindfulness so that you could use it again in the future. Now, I'm not saying I don't know that much about therapy. I just know what I've learned from myself and, and reading and things like that. So that's one of my favorite things about mindfulness. Um, let's see here. There were some other things I wanted to go over. I'm trying to find it. So one of the things that happens with therapy versus coaching is therapy is a very scripted, structured um, service, I guess you could say. So, you make an appointment, you go in, it's the whole 50 minutes or whatever it is they're giving you. And now coaching is very flexible. It's not, I mean, you will set aside time to meet with each other, but you can do whatever you want in those sessions. There's sometimes, in my sessions, we don't talk about my goals. We talk about something that may have happened and I really need to talk about it. Or, there's might be some things that have happened in my life that I need to talk about. And sometimes I've reached out to my coach on a non day where, on a, day where we're not scheduled to meet and be like, hey, this happened, what can we do? So, so usually what happens in coaching is, the coach will explain, set a found, like set a foundational layer for you. There's usually, some kind of agreement between the two. Um, there's a lot of communication. So the coach is, actively listening, asking powerful questions, and directly communicates with you so that because it's not a jobs coach to sit there and yammer the whole time. It's, the coach to prompt the client to talk, because the more they talk, the more you're peeling back the layers of that person and learning more about them and how they tick and how they work and work through their problems, because they may be making the same mistakes. Like I still make some of the same mistakes. And I don't know how many times I'll write it down or I'll create a workaround or I'll create, something. Um, they don't know that until we're talking and I explain to them, well, that happened because of this. And they're like, okay, so let's talk about that. So it's just things like that. And some of it is like what a therapist would do. A therapist lets you talk, and then prompts you with questions or, you know, things like that to get more out of you. So, some of those are some of the same things. Um, So a lot of things for coaches. Now I don't know about therapists how they do it. I mean, I'm sure they're therapists. They walk the walk, they talk the talk, right? I don't know if they practice what they preach, is what I'm saying. So, but for the coaches that I know, they come from experience. The things that they are have a niche in, they have, worked through those problems, especially when they have things that they do for themselves that work and they're sharing it with you. So that's where I come from is I have a lot of things that I've done in my past to help me deal with depression and live with it. And I'm also, I mean, I'm not going to talk about it today, but embarking on a new journey here in a few weeks. And once I start doing that, I will be sharing that with you guys and how I'm navigating that. Is something that I just learned about, and I didn't know if other people were doing it. And I found out that there's a lot of people doing it, so I'm going to try it myself. But um, so now, can you see a coach and a therapist? Of course, you can. You can do whatever you want, whatever helps you. I know people that have done that all the time. One of someone I work with, they still see their therapist. They still, go to their doctor, um, their psychiatrist, but they're also using me to help them with their daily things that they can't seem to get accomplished and their goals that they're wanting to do. So they're using those two things together. So I will say that if you work with the coach for a long term, you do become really close to them because they know you like nobody else. Um, I just want to make sure I hit all my highlights. So enough of that. But so you come to me and you, this always happens. You're a perfectionist, but you can't seem to get anything done. Why not? Why not? What is that thing that's stopping you in your way? Well, that's where a coach could help you with that. Um, some of my, I will say my OCD has gotten a little worse, but I always justify it as me being more organized. So I have to watch that line that I don't get so focused on that um, obsessive behavior because it could be the downfall of me. So, um, but some of those can help you um, be more organized in your life, especially when you're feeling chaotic. One of the things that I do work on is not as setting my expectations to be so high that it's unachievable and I set myself up for failure. That is one of the things I've learned from working with my coach. That's why we set 12, 12 weeks aside with goals so I can take my time and do each step each week. That's one of the things that we do. Um, the Let me find that book because that's the 12, I think it's called the 12-week year. Oh, here it is. It's by Brian Moran. And so he wrote this book called The 12-Week Year. And in it, he talks about taking a big goal and breaking it down into itsy bitsy, you know, achievable tasks so that by the end of the 12 weeks, you've actually done this big thing that you've needed to get done, but you've not felt like, you know, wow, did I really get this accomplished? You know, like I said, I'm always hard on myself, but there are some times I get to the end of my 12 weeks and I'm like, I haven't done anything. I feel like a failure, you know. But then my coach reminds me, okay, wait a minute, you've done this, you've done that, you know, and I'm like, oh, yeah. Um, so I'll link that down in the show notes too. Is that the 12-week year by Brian Moran? If you listen to the Audible or whatever, I would speed it up just a little bit. He's a very dry um, narrator, so um, so it might be best if you read it instead of listen to it. But if you don't have time to do that, I understand. But I sped it up because just because he's a very dry narrator. But it's a really good book because it teaches you how to take a big goal, break it down into small itty bitty steps, and then getting it done. And so when the 12 weeks is up, I just do it again. So let me pull up my other things that I've done because I had a list here. Um, so, like I said, coaching helped me set realistic goals when everything felt overwhelming. When you're feeling overwhelmed, it's hard to plan anything. So, your coach will help you plan your goals and keep you on the right track so that when you do get overwhelmed and can't think and can't plan anything, they pull you back and reset you. Um, so one of the things I did when I started coaching is I stopped running from my struggles and started facing them with courage because I started trusting my coach because I started achieving things and getting things done. So it was easy for me to trust her and talk about some things that I had been holding inside of me. And we were able to work through those. My self esteem, self esteem grew, and I actually started believing in myself that I was actually a decent person. Who knew? So learned how to create routines and boundaries to manage my depression and anxiety. So she gave me the foundational tools to do that. And then I came up with the other things on my own, which I talk to you guys about now, which I absolutely love. Um, because if it helps me, I know it'll help other people. Um, I've learned to express my feelings in a healthy, respectful way. So instead of crying and screaming it out all the time, I could talk about it. Do we have any other screamers in the crowd listening? I come from a long line of screamers, yellers, or whatever. I'm like, oh my Lord, I can't do this anymore. So I still get loud. Don't worry about that, but I'm not screaming anymore. So, oh, here's a good one. Coaching helped me find the courage to make new friends. Wow. So yeah, I didn't want to leave my house. And when I was going through depression and my anxiety, especially, and COVID didn't help at all. COVID didn't help anybody, right? And so I got to the point where I didn't want to leave my house. And that even meant talking to people. And I don't need new friends. I mean, I got you. So why do I need to make new friends? But because at my true self, I'm an introvert. And it's taken me a long time to get over talking to not talking to people in public, you know, or freaking out when someone addresses me. So we've all had those hangups. I mean, I can look back now at some of the things and I could feel the anxiety and my chest pounding. And I had like a ton of bricks on my chest. And I was like, ugh, I don't want to talk to nobody. So, um, another thing that I learned was I finally believe I have value and something meaningful to offer the world. That to me, I mean, people told me you have people in your life that would say you're special or you're worth it. You're good at what you do. And I didn't believe any of it. I'm like, those people are a bunch of BSers, they just full of crap. And but I'm like, you know what? I've done a lot of things um that have made me a better person. Um do I still think about some of the stupid things I did and said? Yes. And those are just lessons, not, reminders not to do those again. Um, and going along with that, is just mentally and emotionally, I've grown so much using coaching. I used to doubt everything, but now, like I said, I believe in myself. I believe that I can help you, whatever you're going through. And I've helped other people go through some hairy stuff and just just from the things that I've learned on my own has been such a tremendous help, to other people that they've been able to apply it to their own lives. It's so wonderful to me, that the struggles I went through are not for naught, that I can help someone else go through something, less or help them get through it better, with the things that we're working together on through coaching. So I just find that's a wonderful feeling. And like I said earlier, coaching helped me find the courage to return to my Christian faith. So um, I just love that. And I have my own story about that. And I've kind of talked about it off and on here, but I just am so glad I found a new church family, and they're really wonderful people. And I've met some new friends through there, and we really cling to each other, and support each other, and I just love that. So, and hopefully, if you don't have someone that you don't have a support group, then like I've said before, I'm your support person. Just reach out and I can help you. Okay, so as a reminder, I'm doing the free workshop the 17th and the 18th at 7 p.m. here on live stream. And it won't be live on Facebook, so I'll have to record it and then upload it. But when I'm on, did I say live stream? I meant StreamYard. When I'm on StreamYard, you can click on it and log on and interact with the workshop and ask questions or whatever it is that you have on your mind. I mean, that would just make my day if you did that. So it's a free workshop, find peace, purpose, and practical tools. So things like I said that I've learned. um just learn that it's going to be okay. It really is. I mean, there's times when I didn't know when it was going to be okay, but I knew it was coming. So, and that's just something that I want to share with you guys. So, anyway, you all have a great day, and I will see you next time. Bye. Thanks so much for listening to It's Going to Be Okay. If today's episode